back to Talk in Depth. On today's episode, I'm going to be reviewing the newest movie in the Alien franchise, Alien Covenant. So Alien Covenant is directed by Ridley Scott. He directed the first Alien movie. I don't know if he did any of the other ones. I don't think he did. I know James Cameron did the second one, Aliens. That's all I know of who the directors are. I think I know who did Alien 3 and 4. I can't place my finger on it. But I know it was some famous directors. I don't know. And I don't know who did Prometheus because I did not bother to look at who directed that. But I will get into that in a second about Prometheus. But like I said, Ridley Scott did direct this new one, and as most people know, Ridley Scott does a fantastic job with his movies. He always finds a way to, capture some sort of beauty with, CGI, and, even just with filming. He always just finds a way to make each shot just look really beautiful. I don't know why, but I do know why. He's just good at his job, but, just the way he does it is so mesmerizing in this movie. The film stars Michael Fassbender, Katherine Waterston, Danny McBride, and Billy Crudup. There are a bunch of characters in this movie, but they're mostly, the expendable ones, the ones, that get killed off right away. And that's not a spoiler alert, just, characters die in this movie. But the four I just listed were, the four main characters in this movie that there's a lot of story developed around, and I actually really liked these characters when I thought I wouldn't. Especially Danny McBride. We've seen Danny McBride do all these, joke movies where he's usually the douchebag bad guy. And, he's kind of, pigeonholed himself as that actor who's he's the bad guy in most of the movies. He's the douchebag. But in this one, he really wasn't. I wouldn't go as far as to say he's the hero, but he's along that lines. He's the underdog. There we go. That's the right terminology for his character. He's the underdog in the story, and he does a really good job at being that underdog because it shows that he as an actor can branch away from that role he usually plays, and I think this was really good for him to do that, and hopefully we'll get to see him in more of the Alien movies with the way they leave his character off. Michael Fassbender, he was in Prometheus, and he's in this one too. He actually plays a different cyborg in this movie named David, whereas in Prometheus, he played a cyborg named Walter. And I think, in my opinion, David was way better than Walter because David felt more human than Walter, and they touch upon that in the movie, but, why David is more, advanced than all the other cyborgs that were created instead of him. And so I just think David was more interesting to learn about. And I don't really want to say why, but the character was really cool. And, I don't know, just something about him felt oh, okay. Oh, I see where you're coming from. You really get to see why he does what he does and why he thinks what he thinks. Katherine Waterston was okay. I'd say out of the four main characters I listed in the film, she was probably the one I had the lowest expectations for. Because, she's a fine actress, but, I'm not rushing out the door to see the next Katherine Waterston movie. I thought she was really good in Inherent Vice. Fantastic Beasts she was pretty good in. The one thing I didn't like about her in this movie was her haircut. I was just oh, okay, why give her a bowl haircut? But besides that, I thought she was pretty good. The way her character started, literally from the first or second scene in the movie to where she ended in the last scene, there was a lot of character development because something happens to her in this first scene she's in the movie, and so it kind of makes her, I guess, weak. And so in the last scene of the movie, she's strong. When I don't know. I liked the way her character developed throughout the story, from starting off at that weak point to being the hero of the story. Billy Crudup was okay. He was kind of a dick. I don't know. He was just mostly a dick. He didn't really I don't know. There's nothing really to say about his character. I wouldn't really say he's just there to be there. He has an effect on the storyline, but yeah, I don't know. His character was his character was fine. His character didn't bother me. It was just oh, alright, you're just one of those other characters. And he was a main character. He really was. He's not one of the expendable guys, dude who gets his throat slashed out or something. I don't know if I don't know if that happened in the movie. I don't remember. That's just a made up character. But yeah, he was okay. Not my most favorite, but not my least favorite. I like the aliens in this one. There were 3 aliens in this one. So there was, obviously the xenomorph. There always has to be xenomorph in an alien movie. And then there were 2 new ones called the neomorphs. There was one baby one and one adult one, I think. I think it was an adult. I'm not sure. But yeah, those are 2 new aliens they introduced into this one. It's really cool, the birthing system of how they were born. But yeah, I think just the alien character is so iconic, and so like it could really have been a disappointment, you know, if it was just a disappointing way they showed the character and like dealt with it. I'm talking about the xenomorph right now, not the neomorph. So I think this movie did a really good job at conveying, you know, we can't overuse the character. They didn't really overuse it like they did in some, like Alien versus Predator, Alien versus Predator 2. They just made that one a complete joke. This one, it actually felt like, I mean, I wouldn't say it was as good as the one from the first movie, Alien, in like 1979 or something. But I mean, this one, it was interesting to see it come back onto the big screen again. The history of how they were created is revealed in this. I won't say how, but you learn a lot of the backstory of how xenomorphs were created, and so that was really interesting to see because, you know, that's one of the biggest questions that has ever, you know, been known to the Alien franchise. How were the xenomorphs created? And so you finally learned that in this one, and it was just, wow. I don't know, it's nothing I would have ever expected, and it was really cool the way they dealt with it and like how they revealed it. Like I said, the neomorphs were okay. They're kind of like the xenomorph, but more like they're like pale colored. They're like white, and they don't really have like, you know, all the legs and stuff. It's kind of just like a white skinny alien. And so I don't know. I'm not saying they were bad. They were actually really cool to see because they were really freaky, and I liked the way they dealt with how they're created as well. Cause it's one of those scenes where it's just like, oh, you know, just hurry up with this scene. It's really gross. But yeah, I really like these ones. Hopefully we'll see them again. I think we most likely will, because why would they introduce a new breed of alien and just not show us it again? I wouldn't get that, but yeah, hopefully we'll see them again. Alright, let's talk about the things I didn't like. This wasn't really a sequel to Prometheus. I mean, it was, but in some ways it really wasn't, because really the only tie-in it had to Prometheus was that one thing that they released online, like the epilogue or something. That was really kind of like the only tie-in to Prometheus. I mean, there's another thing, but that's a spoiler. But other than that, that was really the only tie-in to Prometheus. And so I felt like it was kind of disappointing because they did say this is a sequel to Prometheus, and some of the questions are going to be answered that we left open in Prometheus. So we'll answer them in this one. They really didn't. I mean, some of the questions were answered, but don't go to this movie being like, oh my gosh, all the things that I wanted to figure out are going to be answered. Not all of them really are. This was mostly just a prequel to Alien. It's more of a way to like tie into the first one, which they're doing, which I'm excited for. But yeah, it just wasn't really a sequel to Prometheus, except for that epilogue released online. I'm just gonna admit it's a little strange that they didn't put it in the movie, because there's like a scene where I was like, oh, you know, this could have fit in the movie, and this clip they released is only like 2.5 minutes long, maybe even less. So I don't really see why they didn't put it in the movie. Because some people may go to this movie and just have no idea what's going on, like how it ties into Prometheus, but then if they go home and watch the clip, they could be like, oh, I see how that tied into Prometheus, but it would have been better if they just put it in the movie itself. So, I don't know, it's weird that they didn't. They also don't have that dinner clip. If you saw that, you know, it has James Franco and like all the crew, and they're talking before they go into hypersleep or whatever it was. That also wasn't in the movie. That was an online thing, and it's a little weird still that they didn't put it into the movie because it could have fit in there. I mean, the first clip, the one that I said tied in Prometheus, that one would have fit in better than the dinner scene, but still, they both could have just been included in the movie, and I don't know why they didn't have them in it. I mean, maybe there's something like they released of why they didn't put them in the movie and I just didn't see it, but my personal opinion is I think they should have been in the movie. Now, I did just mention an actor who is in the movie that I want to quickly touch upon, and that's James Franco. I love James Franco. James Franco has always been one of my favorite actors, literally since I was probably 5, you know, Spider-Man and stuff like that. But I've always loved James Franco, and so when I heard he was going to be in this, I was super excited. Let me just tell you guys, don't go to this movie to be expecting a lot of James Franco. I'm literally just telling you right now, James Franco is not a main character, and he's not a side character. I wouldn't really say he's not there to be there. He was just kind of like, oh, we'll toss in James Franco. Even Ridley Scott said, yeah, James Franco really doesn't have an effect on the movie. We just kind of wanted to have him in it. So, yeah, don't go to this movie to be expecting a lot of James Franco, because I was. And so when I walked out of the movie, I was like, oh, you get a good name like James Franco, and like you tell people James Franco is going to be in the movie, but he's kind of not really. This is more of a Catherine Waterston and Danny McBride movie. So, yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say about James Franco. All in all, I think this new Alien movie was decent. It's not one of my favorites, but it's not one of my least favorites. I think there were some things that I really enjoyed about it and just some things that I didn't really care for. I mean, I feel like I really made this sound like it was a disappointment, and it wasn't. I'm telling you guys, I really liked this movie. I wasn't dissatisfied. It's just I was neutral with it. There were things I enjoyed, and there were things I didn't enjoy. I'd say if I'm going to rate this anything, I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10. It's one of those movies where I think if I'm ever having an Alien movie marathon or something with my friends, it'll just be one of those ones where like we have on the TV and the movie's playing, we're just kind of talking, and we'll occasionally look at the screen and be like, oh, that was a cool scene. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much all I have to say about Alien Covenant. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please go click that like and subscribe button. I have links to all my social medias listed down below. Please go follow me on that. I always like getting new followers. But yeah, other than that, this has been A Talk in Depth.